We're here to read poetry, praise poetry, and give out awards for poetry, all of which could seem horribly dull to anyone who isn't into poetry. So instead, just for the fun of it, why don't we tell the truth? We're here to talk about the many faces of love, each of which is another poem, unique and precious. Our three love poets include David Tomas Martinez, an up-and-coming writer from San Diego State. And then there's Sage Gautier, the first place winner in the high school division of our annual poetry contest. Her poem is Big Brown Eyes. And if that isn't a good title for a love poem, I don't know what is. Our final poet will be Winter Paris. And that's a lovely name all in itself. That's like a poem in itself. She's the third place winner who writes about a more rarefied sort of love of nature, love of the possibilities of the imagination. All this is part of a celebration of What We Dreamed Of, which happens to be the title of our latest poetry anthology. It's a title that's also a call to arms, an appeal and a pledge to seek the best in ourselves and the world. And so, with only the slightest dramatic pauses, we begin our reading with Sage Gautier of Point Loma High and her very lovely poem, Big Brown Eyes.
Big brown eyes. In the painting, she sits barefoot on a step, her dark hair matted, her lonely brown eyes pleading for answers. She has paused to rest, the fiddle quiet in her lap, her hands calloused from fingering the strings. The bow with 3 strings comforts her with music. Her roots can be traced to back alleys and dirt roads in London. She owns 1 gray dress, 2 sizes too large, and a handmade shawl from a loved one now in a place she's waiting to go. In her blurry vision, an audience cheers as they listen to the forlorn melody of her fiddle and drop change on the pavement in front of her. She sits and fantasizes the life she is longing to experience.
Wow. You wrote this in response to a sketch of a sad girl that your poet brought to the classroom. Now, did you invent the details of the girl in the poem? You know, she's got a really rich and intricate past, or is it somebody you knew? Where did you get that from?
No, I just saw the picture and I don't know, it just all came to me. I don't know anybody like that.
That's wonderful. Well, you do. Actually, you do. Somewhere in your, because that was a real person. It seemed like a real person. So in some sense, you know that human being, whoever, you invented a real person. That's great.
Thank you.
Don't stop writing. I mean, it reminds me of Charles Dickens in a way. He had these really vivid sketches of people who never really existed, and yet they did.
Yeah.
They did. So, and they certainly exist on the page in our imagination. So are you interested, which begs the question, are you interested in writing fiction or poetry or movies, or are you,
Well,
what are you interested in?
I like free-form poetry, interested me a lot, and I like writing fictional stories sometimes, but I guess poetry, I like it a lot, so I guess I'll be writing more.
What is it you like about it?
I don't know, just like the way it flows together, like it's almost lyrical, but sort of like the song, but you don't need a rhyme or anything.
Oh, yeah.
I just like the way it flows.
Yeah. I mean, if somebody has the lyric voice, they know that from an early age, and if it's not stifled, it can be beautiful. But if you're forced to become a lawyer when you're actually a lyricist, it can be a miserable existence. Oh, anyway, so that was a wonderful poem and well worth a lot of money. So here it is. These are actually, you actually have 2 awards. There's a first place winner in your division. There's $100. And then the Greater San Diego Council of Teachers of English gave you another award, a separate panel of judges, for $50. So there you go.
Wow.
Wow, that's neat. And you get a free anthology, and I'll be sending you a frame certificate and all that stuff. What did you How did you like that?
Oh, I really enjoyed it. I mean, the first thing that I noticed that it was an ekphrastic poem. I mean, it's art about art. And I mean, I like that. And I think, and you brought up Charles Dickens, which is a great point, because Dickens would go on book tours and he would invent these characters in his books, but he could mimic their voices. For old characters, he would hunch back. And I mean, you know, they were literally alive in his poems. And that's why I think this poem really works, is because you may not have known this, but there's so many specific details. I mean, in the second stanza, you have calloused fingering the strings. You have 3 strings. You have a dress that's 2 sizes too large, you know? And then you jump and you begin, and it's this very distant narrator. And one of the things I really liked about this poem is you have that, and then it becomes to the point where we're privy to information that you couldn't know unless you were inside of her. And but you're only able to do that, and it's only believable because of the specific details, because of the little things, you know, the dress and the calluses and everything like that. That's where this poem really works. And I mean, I enjoyed it. I can see why you won first place.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And, you know, $150. Hey.
Yeah.
Hey, it's a start.
I know.
So what did you think?
I really liked it. I liked the imagery, how you actually felt like you were there seeing it all. It was good.
Yeah, you did a good job.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, your turn. Yep, go ahead. You're on.
Grand Canyon.
By the way, I really like your poem. Too. I just thought I'd say that. You're
Thank
looking
you.
like, yeah. Okay.
I look out and hold my breath. I'm suspended, minimized, reduced to a speck. I float on the back of an eagle, flowing with the moving planes of blue, curving and turning like a slide made from ribbon. The ribbon of earth that bumps and curves, rises and falls. A squirrel's tail brushes my hand and makes me jump. I come back to myself, my mind and soul, as my feet touch the ground.
Well, I'm going to let you leap into the first question. I mean, or observation, or...
Well, one of the things that I really liked about this poem was the rhythm and the language. You know, there's a definitely lyricism that goes with this poem. And it was, I mean, again, I can see why these poems were, you know, you were the award winners and why you're in this anthology. I mean, they move wonderfully well. Like the first stanza, that's one of the most important part of this poem, is because you need to have this you need to suspend reality so that you can go on this trip with the poet. You know, and you do a good job of that, you know, with, you know, I look out and hold my breath, I'm suspended, minimized, reduced to a speck, and then you take us on this ride. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's wonderful. And the thing what I liked most about this poem was seemed to me a call or response, but to Genesis 1:26, and it's the idea of the, you know, it's a transcendence from the biblical idea, and you guys have probably heard this. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps over the earth. To what you have is a more natural and reciprocal relationship with nature. You know, it's not we're going to put a yoke on nature and it's going to do what we want it to do. This is you know, you're joining hands and part of nature, which I think is an important, especially in right now, we need a green society as things are going, you know, the planet's in need. I mean, that message needs to be pushed.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm hoping is I didn't embarrass you too much by saying that Grand Canyon is a love poem, but it is, isn't it? I mean, it is a love of nature, and they're so sensual. You know, you're flying until a squirrel's tail, what was it, brushes your hand. You know, and you wake up. That's a lovely touch. Yeah. I really like that.
Squirrels are very friendly in the Grand Canyon. The squirrels are very friendly in the Grand Canyon.
Oh, they are?
They'll just run across your lap.
Oh, you're right. Coyotes, too. No, I'm not kidding. But it's not as fun, you know, anyway. You know, it actually did remind me a lot of Walt Whitman, you know, love.